Hello everyone, back tuning in today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days in today's video. This will take us more or less to the end of April. I think go to the 30th of April with this update. So, got some cold weather coming up early next week, unusually cold perhaps. But the very latest one of the GFS is then indicating a bit of a heat wave for the start of May, would you believe it? I'm going to show you all the charts in a second. We're going to start off with some pictures. This one sent through yesterday by William Grimsley. I think this is from down in Devon. So lovely spring day, spring afternoon in Devon yesterday. Thanks to William for sending that one through. This is from Frank in Austria. Now, yesterday I showed you some pictures of that snow in Austria. And there's been more snow overnight, so Frank is reporting that there's been up to 20 to 40 centimetres of snow overnight in the Austrian hills, and we can see a proper snow-covered morning there this morning with some pretty deep snow. Actually, a couple more pictures there, very wintry looking scene, and that just shows how deep the snow is actually. Real covering of snow in the hills of Austria. So thanks to Frank for sending that as well. He says that it's likely to start thawing out tomorrow, but they're having a real blast of wintry weather over in Austria at the moment. Remember, if you want to send your pictures through to Gaz Vids, there's two ways you can do it. You can post it in the comment box at website, or post it in the comment box at website, or you can email them to gazvids@gmail.com, and we're always happy to feature those pics in the vids. Thanks to William and to Frank for sending those through. Right, weather for next week to 10 days then is looking pretty cool, really. These are the 500 mm height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days. This takes us to around the 30th of April, so we go to the end of the month with this. We've got the Eastern Earth here on the top, and the GFS, we'll have a look at it in a moment. It's on the bottom. 500 millimeters, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by a jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, orange and red to high pressure. So the east of the Earth is predicting that there's going to be a trough here over and to the west, or to the east of Europe. To the west in the Atlantic, we've got this ridge. It means the jet stream is doing something a bit like that. It does still place us on the cool side of the jet, but as we run up towards the end of April, what's actually happening is that we're beginning to bring in a slightly more Atlantic-based air mass there. So, although still probably quite cool to the end of April, we probably do see the temperatures beginning to recover a little bit later next week. Certainly compared to what we have at the start of next week, we have a real Arctic plunger there coming down across the country. The GFS is very similar, so we've got the below average heights again to our east. Also quite a deep area of low pressure around Greenland. And again, we're on the cool side of the jet, but we are beginning to bring the air more in from the Atlantic, more in from that sort of direction. So although it would still be cool, it would still be chilly, not the Arctic origin air that we're going to get at the start of next week. So I think unsettled and probably seeing the temperatures beginning to stage a slight recovery is how we finish April 2017. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. That's 2 weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. So again, about average with the temperatures at the moment. We're going to stay that way into the weekend, but it's really next week that we get this big drop in the temperature, a real plunge of cold air coming down from the Arctic there through the course of next week. And then very gradually, the second half of next week into the final weekend of April, slowly, day by day, just begin to lift those temperatures up. It's a slow old process to recover, but eventually, by the time you get through to the start of May, just here, we are beginning to see the temperatures staging a little bit of a recovery. Now notice this thick green line up here, that is the latest operational run of the GFS. I did start a video, but the latest GFS operational run is actually throwing in a bit of a heat wave for the start of May. You can see how poorly supported that is, however, within the GFS ensembles. Although they are, many of them are lifting the temperatures up, most of them don't go to that sort of level. So let's just say a recovery in temperatures taking place at the end of April into the start of May, and leave sort of heat waves alone for the time being. In terms of the precipitation, so lots of dry weather for the rest of this week into weekend. Do have some rainfall spikes there associated with this cold weather. Don't be surprised if some of that is wintry in the north. We may well have to get snow watch out of mothballs at the start of next week, because we might get a little bit of snow up in the far north of the country. After that, looks like we've got a bit of a drying trend again, actually, as we go into the start of May, and certainly no sign again of anything definitively wet coming up. There will be some unsettled weather, but no sign that we're going to break the rainfall deficit at the moment. Temperature anomalies for next week, this going from the 20th of April to 28th is generally colder than average across virtually the whole of Europe. Even Spain and Portugal are beginning to turn cooler now. So from the very far west island of Portugal over to Russia in the east, all places in between, generally it's average to colder than average. A long time since we've seen such widespread colder than average temperatures across Europe. The precipitation anomaly looks like this, so it's drier than average still for many parts of the UK and Ireland, also down into France as well. However, most parts of Europe are actually more on the unsettled side, so a little bit cooler and a little bit wetter than average through many parts of Europe. And we've already seen with quite significant snow across some parts of Europe right now. This is how the GFS is looking for Sunday, then. Still under a ridge of high pressure for most of us, but keep an eye on this low to the north of Scotland. Watch what that does on Monday. That's moving to the east of Scotland. There it is. And as it does so, this ridge builds up through the northern Atlantic, and the upshot is to turn the winds into the north. So down comes that Arctic plunge through the first half of next week. A real northerly there, screaming down across the country on Tuesday. You've already icebergs back. The air originates from up here somewhere. Direct hit from the Arctic. So obviously it's going to be pretty cold for the time of the year anyway. Early next week. Those are the upper air temperatures showing the -10 isotherm is heading in towards Scotland on Tuesday. The -5 isotherm is clearing southern England. So we really will feel that northerly wind at the start of next week. We're still in a really quite a cold northerly on Wednesday, although the high pressure beginning to slip southwards a little bit. So slightly milder parcels of air beginning to come around the top of the high pressure. But Wednesday, I think, is still quite a cold day. By Thursday, we should be starting to see that slightly moderated Atlantic air coming in across the country. And although still quite chilly, temperatures will still be cooler than average, I would have thought, into the end of next week. It shouldn't be as cold as early on, because the air, of course, now at this point is originating from up here somewhere, as opposed to earlier in the week when the air is originating up there somewhere. So it will be slightly less cold in the second half of next week. And then we're up towards day 10. This takes into the final weekend of April, Saturday 29th of April through to Sunday the 30th. And the air's coming in off the Atlantic then, so it won't be as cold. Still, I think we'll have thought quite chilly, still a little bit cooler than average, and probably bring some showery bursts of rain into the north and west as well that final weekend of April. And then, of course, we get that push of air from the south in early May. So this is Tuesday 2nd of May, where the winds are turning round into southerlies, and by the time we go through to Thursday the 4th of May, look at that, we've got a big ridge over Scandinavia, and the air is coming in from the southeast, and look at these upper air temperatures that we've got through the early part of May as well. The +10 Celsius isotherm is moving up from the south, so a huge switch around taking place there in early May. We've already seen, however, that it isn't really that well supported, as it's supported at all, actually, by the GFS ensembles. Doesn't mean you can't totally rule out the possibility, though. So this is the temperature forecast. These are the temperatures forecast by GFS model for the next few days. Today, we're about average, 13, 14, 15 degrees. No problems with temperatures tonight. Again, about average tomorrow, 13, 14, 15 degrees. No problems with temperatures on Friday night either. Saturday begins to turn a bit colder in the north and the east. Nothing too dramatic, but certainly a bit cold in the north and the east. Still about average really for the south and southwest on Saturday. Could be a little bit of frost on Saturday night to Sunday morning. That looks a slightly colder one. Sunday, temperatures are still hanging on by the fingertips to being around average at 13 or 14 Celsius. However, it's really as we get through into Monday that those cold winds extend in. So in the south, we're just 10, 11 degrees at best. Really from the Midlands of Wales northwards, those temperatures are struggling to get into double digits. And most parts of northern Britain seeing temperatures well down in single digits. Widespread frost then on Monday night. Tuesday looks a genuinely cold day for the end of April, with temperatures pegged back at 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees for most of us. That's really cold for the end of April. Widespread frost, damaging frost on Tuesday night being predicted, with temperatures down to -2, -3, -4 degrees. Another unusually cold day for Wednesday. Again, temperatures just 6, 7, 8 degrees. That is very significantly colder than the end of April average, and another damaging frost on Wednesday night. Then the temperatures begin to stage a little bit of a recovery at the end of next week, although still the suggestion, particularly for England and Wales, of a very frosty night on Thursday night. However, by the time you go through to the start of May, look at that, the temperatures are going into the mid-20s Celsius on the latest GFS run. So 25 degrees is 77 Fahrenheit on Thursday the 4th of May. Again, have to emphasise that is an outlier within the GFS ensembles, not well supported, although most ensemble members are indicating a recovery, not to that sort of level, but a recovery in temperatures through the first part of next month. Finally, the ECWF, we've got this northerly wind coming down on Monday, Tuesday. Going to be a very cold day for time of year with a proper Arctic northerly, possibly bringing wintry showers to the north and the east. And don't rule out seeing snow watch re-emerging in the coming days, actually. Still cold on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday next week, the air begins to back around into the Atlantic, starts to turn slightly less cold as the air begins to push in from the west as opposed to the north, and we finish up on day 10, which is the final day of April, building a bit of a bridge over Scandinavia. So we're trying to get wind, or we are getting wind into the east there. That might just be because we saw that the GFS eventually finishes up with a Scandinavian high and bring up a southeast wind. That might be the ECWF trending in a similar direction for early May as the GFS. If winds do go into the south or southeast, because it's May, obviously it's going to start to get quite warm. So I would be a bit dubious about having a heat wave through the early part of May, the first week of May. But I certainly think that once we get this Arctic weather out of the way early next week, we probably will see the temperatures recovering, and we might get things quite a lot warmer, actually, through into the beginning of next month, albeit the GFS is probably at the extreme end of things. Right, so that's how it's looking for the next week, 10 days. Basically, cover up your delicates early next week because it is going to be unusually cold, and that will do damage to any tender plants in the gardens, any fruit blossom. Do cover up because I think they're going to be in for a real shock through the early part of next week, and then probably a recovery later next week and to the end of the month. Jan-May Friday tomorrow, which will cover the full month ahead, and that takes us through the final month of the spring, through final month through May. So come back for that tomorrow. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.